here I've been, so I had 3 rounds of interview, and I think I got immensely benefited from the training. Because while you can explain what you have done in the past, one is comprehending in a way which makes an impact.
Right.
So your select achievement exercise really helps a person to put things in correct perspective.
Right.
Another thing was the strengths and weaknesses. So while you can always blabber on the strengths, you keep mum on weakness. I mean, you think, I mean, why should I give my worst point in the first meeting?
Right.
So I was always mum on this question in all my interviews throughout my life.
Right.
But after this MBTI in strength test, I could pick up my weaknesses, which were not very, I mean, they'll not put you in bad light. They are so human, and you can work on it. You can say, I mean, this is this, and I can work on it. So, I mean, ultimately, I found the answer to this long pending question about what are my weaknesses.
Right.
And similarly, then I read through those 15 questions for the interview.
Right.
And you had correctly, tried to disseminate what is being asked and what you should answer, not what's being said in the words. Right. So that also really helps.
What will be the package here?
So here I'm on 50 lakhs per 30 lakhs per plus of ESOP. So it is 80 lakhs per annum.
Okay. So it brings you back to parity because of the disturbances that happened.
Correct.
Hi Amit.
Good morning, coach.
Good morning. How are you?
I am good.
Lovely. I read your message and I wanted to connect and see how things are. Congratulations, and I wanted to learn all about what's the scope of the role and how things have been.
Thank you very much, coach. So actually, coach, I am a company secretary and a law graduate by education. So I've got 20 years of experience, and I've worked with companies like Naukri.com, Tata Sky, Paytm, Indraprastha Gas in the past. So I have about 20 years of experience.
And which city are you from?
I'm in Noida.
Noida, okay.
Yeah. I was briefly in Mumbai for Tata Sky for 2.5 years, but otherwise I've been in Delhi and NCR.
Okay.
Yeah. So I left Paytm in August 2019.
Okay.
And that was like, you can say I got a pink slip.
Okay.
And I got a pink slip not because of my performance, perhaps because of my I think I was not doing certain things which pleased the founder. So I could make out, I spent 3 years and 9 months. So my last year's posting was in Paytm Payments Bank, during which it was going through a tough phase. And I think which I could make out subsequently that I couldn't, one, I had some medical issue during that time. And another, I couldn't pamper the founder according to his this thing. So it was not performance based at all, because all the parameters were met and everything was good. So I was given a pink slip. So I separated in August 2019. After that, I was looking for a job, and due to the stumbling block was relocation. So 2 companies wanted me to relocate to either Mumbai or Hyderabad for their respective position with family. So I said, I can relocate, I can't promise on my family. So then last year I got an opportunity with a startup, Basic First Learning. It's a EdTech startup.
Okay.
I joined there, and I left Paytm at 70 lakhs. I joined this startup at 43 lakhs. And I accepted because it was a new sector, it was a startup, and plus the salary, there were salary cuts and layoffs last year due to COVID.
Right.
So, but this company also had problems in sourcing funds. They haven't taken any external funding. They are surviving on angel funding. So they were not able to pay salaries on time, and those issues were there. So, I enrolled for your training, and I was going through, so I was doing both. In the meanwhile, I had interacted with you, and you had advised me to do published and unpublished job search separately, and give equal importance to published positions. Because in legal and compliance, not many things are known in public domain. So, I mean, if you have to write an approach letter, the problem is that you really don't know the pain areas unless and until you are able to connect with somebody internally.
Right.
And they are not very apparent in the balance sheet also, the financials. So I was talking to two companies. One was BuildDesk, and there also everything went off well, but I think it got sold off. So therefore, PayU took over this, and it didn't materialize.
Right.
So then, in the meanwhile, I got this call from this Square Yards. This company is into everything related to property, and they're based in Gurgaon. So their 50% revenue is from Indian market and 50% from overseas market. So they are present in Middle East, Australia, Canada. So they do all sort of property transactions for NRIs who are looking to buy properties in India, and for Indians who are trying to book properties in those territories.
Right.
So under that umbrella, they give broking services, property management services, interior services, legal management services. So they have got different verticals. As per your advice, when I got a call, I downloaded their financials from the MCA website. I went through the financials. I went through their website. I studied who is in what position.
Right.
Financials also look promising. I mean, they have improved their operating parameters in last 1 year considerably. Now here I've been. So I had 3 rounds of interview, and I think I got immensely benefited from the training, because while you can explain what you have done in the past, one is comprehending in a way which makes an impact.
Right.
So your select achievement exercise really helps a person to put things in correct perspective.
Right.
Another thing was the strengths and weaknesses. So while you can always blabber on the strengths, you keep mum on weakness. I mean, you think, why should I give my worst point in the first meeting?
Right.
So I was always mum on this question in all my interviews throughout my life.
Right.
But after this MBTI in strength test, I could pick up my weaknesses, which were not very. You can say, they'll not put you in bad light. They are so human, and you can work on it. You can say, this is this, and I can work on it. So, ultimately, I found the answer to this long pending question about what are my weaknesses.
Right.
And similarly, then I read through those 15 questions for the interview.
Right.
And you had correctly, tried to disseminate what is being asked and what you should answer, not what being said in the words. Right. So that also really helped. So all 3 rounds of interview, I went back, I made the notes, I revised my strengths, I revised my select achievement. Because, though you have 20 years of experience and you have done all well through your life, but comprehending, putting it out and marketing yourself is a very different ballgame.
Yes.
Which I think was my key takeaway from the coaching that I had with you.
See, it makes sense because you have a powerful stake. You were already at a senior level. So I figured that the gap in your case would be the ability to crisply and succinctly put out there the value that you can bring in words that would impact them.
Correct.
They must be able to see the relevance of the strengths, the talents, everything that you have, and how it would be applicable for them. That translation has to be in your hands. You cannot leave it to the person interviewing because they've got so much hitting them that they are not in a position to do justice to who you are. So I'm glad to hear that. So you've now joined Square Yards, is it?
Yeah, I will be joining on 16th.
Okay, you'll be joining on 16th. And what will be the package here?
So here I'm on 50 lakhs per 30 lakhs per plus of ESOP. So it is 80 lakhs per annum.
Okay. So it brings you back to parity because of the disturbances that happened.
Correct. Plus they have promised me to do a review in March. Normally, when you join this late in the financial year, then you're not eligible for the appraisal next year so soon. But I mean, I had a discussion with them, and I said that look, I mean, it only brings me back to where I was in Paytm. So what's the gain? And you see, the market is buzzing with activity. So I don't want to be on another lookout. And this conversation I had before accepting their offer. So they never asked me a question on what is my expectation, and I never told them what is my expectation, because my first priority was to find a good company and to find a job.
Excellent. No, but senior level campaigns are also a little more difficult because these opportunities truly are few and far between.
Yes, correct.
So, no, kudos to you the way you have used the system. I can see that you've applied so many different elements of it, how you've gone about it. There's a couple things that I want you to understand. One is when you were describing your Paytm experience and when you were saying that you were unable to pamper the founder.
Yeah.
So I want you to talk a little more about that. Give that a little more color and tell me what that was.
Sure. So basically, Coach, what happened was this: the founder, he actually had some personal issues in his main group. So his PA was arrested on some data theft issue. So he became very finicky during that period, during those 6 months. And a lot of top level people left Paytm at that time around him, which were there with him for last 8, 9 years, 10 years, maybe.
Right.
Now, I mean, you see, my job as a legal and compliance guy is to manage the meeting and do that stuff. Now, sometimes I think when he came for the board meeting, he would crib on the tea, I'm not getting tea and all. So, though it may be that you can say as a meeting manager, it may be this thing to go out and call the admin guy and arrange for the tea and all. But frankly speaking, I had never done this for the last 20 years. Plus, actually, the other directors were also fumbled that why is this guy cribbing about this small issue? I mean, and in fact, to the extent that one of the independent directors was a director in that Chayos kind of a company, and on experience these episodes, he got them to cater to our board meeting in one of the board meetings. That Vijay, is cribbing about tea. He's not getting good tea. Let me get one of my investee companies. They will match his taste and all. So another thing was he came. You see, why I joined Paytm was that there was an RBI audit of the Paytm bank, and there actually they were not highly dissatisfied with the bank's working prior to my joining. So they advised them to shuffle the entire top level management. So the CEO, CTO, CIO, Chief Compliance Officer, CFO, everybody was shunted out. They were moved back into the group companies. And in fact, to the extent, this was announced in the town hall also. This puts the professional in a very bad light. Because I knew they were not bad people. They were not inefficient. But the system was such that they couldn't perform. And on top of that, this was announced in a town hall. So this basically put me in a tight spot that tomorrow, if suppose I am not able to meet some expectations and next year, there will be an RBI audit and some observations come, then maybe my name will be announced next. So I really became a bit conservative in approaching Vijay. So like he would come for the meeting on a Diwali or some other review meeting. Now I don't know whether he wants to meet the business people or he would like to meet me also as a legal and compliance person. So I think I was like avoiding. And this was because nothing directly happened between us. But as I told you, there were a lot of stories floating around. And he had a lot of things with other people. So I thought, since he's not very concerned, so maybe, if I don't go into the meeting, if I'm called, I'm called. I'm there in my desk. So if I'm needed, my CEO will call me. But I think that was my mistake. That was my mistake because I mean, as a senior professional, maybe, I mean, I would have run the risk of, he would have said, Amit, you are not required and you may go out of the meeting room. But I think I should have been present there, say hi to him, and maybe ask if, am I required for the meeting or not? Maybe that was my mistake.
Okay. Would you like to understand my interpretation of what you have told?
Yeah. Yes, coach.
Okay. See, there are two separate issues here. One deals with, what specifically was happening in terms of the concerns of the business. And the second was a personal relationship that was at some stage of development.
Yeah.
Now, I can tell you, if you look at it very clinically, if you look at it very technically, one should not have anything to do with the other. Okay? You have been hired in a professional capacity, you're supposed to do a certain, responsibility. And if you are fulfilling that responsibility, then no more is expected beyond that. But this is looking at it very clinically. Okay? We are human beings. We are social animals. We express care and concern. We express joy. We express discomfort. We express, pain. We express all of these things. So I can tell you that in my career, when I am reporting to someone, and if that person has truly earned the right in my eyes, okay, then my surrender is very strong.
Correct.
And I think of them as I would think of a family member.
Correct.
I wouldn't even say family member. I would say maybe the regiment leader, the regiment that I am in. The battalion leader or the squadron leader, or, the person that I'm reporting to as a part of this team.
Yeah.
Because there, the only reason they will have to wake up if we are in a war and they are fighting the war with me and there is some time to rest and, it's my turn of duty and I say, you take rest, I will manage the shift, or I will look after, I will be looking out. The only reason that person will have to wake up is if I've been shot.
Correct.
And that is not just in a professional capacity, it's even in a personal capacity.
Yes.
When you care for someone who's earned the right in your eyes, the strength of the relationship is extraordinary.
Yes.
My bosses used to come to me with their personal issues. They used to come and sometimes just vent, sometimes seek advice.
Yeah.
And the relationship that I shared was truly extraordinary. So making sure everything makes that individual look good. Because see, somebody like a Vijay Shekhar Sharma, his success cannot be doubted. He's already a brilliant man who's on the other side of the fence.
Yeah. Correct.
वो तो वो चीज कर गए जो करोड़ों लोग एस्पायर करते हैं पर कुछ चंद भी पहुंच नहीं पाते. Right? So in terms of earning the right, he's already earned the right multiple times.
Correct.
तो अगर आपको थोड़ा सा नखरा भी लगता है इसमें, वो बहुत, मेरे हिसाब से वो बहुत वाजिब नखरा है. It's very much in place.
Sure.
He's arrived, right? And if we cannot give that little courtesy to someone who has arrived, then what right do we have to expect that courtesy when we get there?
Sure.
You see, the dynamic is the same. By the time the son realizes that the father was right, he has a son who thinks he's wrong.
Right.
तो ये सारी जो सॉफ्ट और छोटी चीजें हैं, इनकी कदर करना जरूरी हो जाता है, because that is how human beings are designed.
Right.
Okay? And when you do it from the heart, when there is respect and admiration from the heart, I can tell you in those cases, leadership doesn't remain a lonely journey. Otherwise, leadership can be a very lonely journey.
Correct.
When you learn to care in these ways, then it doesn't remain a lonely journey. Then it goes much beyond.
Yeah.
You are carrying people along with you. And that is where people want you to become the leader.
Right.
So that is one element that I would state. Technically,
Yeah.
there is no fault with the argument that I am there in a professional capacity. I'm here to do this piece of work. If I'm meeting or exceeding the expectations of me in that professional capacity, then there should be nothing else that anyone can point a finger towards.
Yeah.
Technically, there's nothing wrong with this argument.
Yeah.
But socially, I feel that at the end of the day, it does not matter if you're looking at it technically or socially. You have to look at it a little more economically.
Yeah.
Life किसकी है?
Correct.
Because विजय जी के पास तो ऑलरेडी वो लाखों करोड़ों सब कुछ आ चुका है.
Right.
सक्सेस तो ऑलरेडी हो चुका है.
Right.
सक्सेस आपको और स्टेबिलिटी आपको ज्यादा जरूरत है, आपको ज्यादा एस्टैब्लिश करना. So the whole point here was, it's not whose mistake or whose demand, it's whose life.
Correct.
And you will only be able to look at it from that perspective when your ego understands and is healthy enough to accept that सामने वाला नखरा कर रहा है पर कोई बात नहीं.
Right.
Allowed आपको ये नखरा आपने क्या क्या और नहीं किया है.
Coach, I'll just add here a bit. You see, when I was hired, and you see, I had denied them twice. I mean, the first time, a couple of years back, they had interviewed me, and I had refused the offer because there were no ESOPs. And at that time, I was enjoying a good amount of ESOPs in Naukri.com. So I refused them. Now, a couple of years back, when they reconnected, I told them that, look, boss, you have already interviewed me, and we disconnected because there were no ESOPs. Now, this time they said, no, we have got ESOPs and you will be eligible. But they refused to give me in writing. Now, when I joined in December 15 to 2015, they said you will become eligible for ESOP after 1 year. And after 1 year, coach, they just refused. I mean, they just went cold. And because I was the custodian of the ESOP data, I could make out that in the legal and the compliance domain, finance, legal and compliance, the entire three functions, very few people had ESOPs and very minuscule ESOPs, which were not even worth the paper they were printed on. The person who was the financial controller, he was an old guy into the system. That person was having a chunk of ESOPs, a huge chunk of ESOPs. Below that, because I had data of the entire company, because I was custodian of that data. When I analyzed that data, I could make out that this guy will not let anybody under him prosper to the level that, I mean, if he was having 60,000 ESOPs, the next guy would be having 600, 700, 800, maximum 1,000. And that 2,000 to a person who has spent 5-7 years in the system. So that was one thing which basically, I mean, put a bad taste in my mouth. But I swallowed it. As you said, that you have to look at it, whose need is it? So I said, fine. I mean, I'm not getting ESOPs, but fine, I'm getting an annual increment and I'm getting to learn a lot and I'm performing and I'll be looking out. So I made compromise on that. Then the second thing that was disturbing in my last assignment was during that 4 years of my association, for 2.5 years, I was in the main company, the holding company. Then briefly, I was transferred to a new company, wealth management company, Paytm Money Limited. Then from there, 6 months down the line, I was shifted to this Paytm Payments Bank because this RBI audit had put had required them to recast their entire top management structure. Now, after having performed there for 1 year, I could make out there was a cultural mismatch because they had brought in a retired SBI general manager as the CEO, and who had again brought 2-3 retired SBI people at the top level. Right now, down the line, there's a private sector, and on top of you, there's this public sector. Now, this guy who has come from public sector, and I have always worked through public sector, in the private sector, 20 years. But I took my training in public sector, GAIL India Limited. I did my 15 months of internship in GAIL. And I know that basically your KRAs in those companies is basically to arrange the car for the directors who are coming for the meeting, to follow their travel schedule, to keep them happy, to make arrangement for lunch and all these things. So those kind of skill set is required more than your professional skill set, because the person who's coming is not very proficient in this thing. Now, this again revived in this Paytm bank, because they again got people from public sector. So he wanted me, this guy who's that retired SBI, 60 years plus retired SBI guy. One, because you see, I had a medical issue due to which I was there for leave for about 15-20 days, during which my number 2 conducted one of the meetings in my absence. Now, post my joining, this CEO made it a point that we'll have 2 persons in the meeting. So you, along with your number 2, come for the meeting, though you are the boss, but let him just sit in, which made me highly uncomfortable. And I pointed that out, and I had a discussion with him and others in the system, but somehow I couldn't change that. And this also created a lot of confusion in the functioning. So I think that
I'm going to stop you here a moment.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you a few things here.
Yeah.
See, when it comes to, you're bringing up many more issues.
Yes.
You're bringing up many more issues.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the question you need to answer is, at what scale do you want to engage with life at? आपको हजारों में खेलना है, लाखों में खेलना है, करोड़ों में खेलना है, अरबों में खेलना है या खरबों में खेलना है? I'm only using a currency example or a monetary example to tell you the scale. This is not literally how much you want to earn. It is how big your vision is and how big your impact will be.
Sure.
Now, when it came to your ESOPs, they told you you're eligible. I don't know what other discussion or what level of ESOP participation would be allowed, or what slabs govern the ESOP distribution in that organization. I don't know that. But in a year you would be eligible means that in a year they will also be looking at your performance. Right? जब हम एग्जाम लिखते हैं तो हम खुद अपने आप को नंबर नहीं देते.
Correct.
When you write an exam, it is the institution that awards you the grade or the marks, right?
Yeah.
The other thing is that, okay, this one person was holding all of the ESOPs. There is a way to break through to that person. And the way to break through to that person is to have possibly the soft skills that has not been a strong skill set with you. I was in a family company that was, 40 years old, third generation. Nobody had ever been made partner. Not one other individual had ever been made partner. And here comes a young man who is part of a management team where each other person has served for 20 years as an average of 60 plus. And I'm 28. And by the time I'm 31, 32, I am partner. Because these things matter. So the question is, it didn't matter how I needed to stretch. Because अगर किसी को kindness दिखानी है उनकी चाय ठीक कर देने से, तो इसमें मेरे ईगो को कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता.
I agree.
मेरी जिंदगी को बहुत फर्क पड़ता.
I agree.
And it was a combination of very strong performance. Of course, that is the foundation. Plus all of these added fringe benefits that gave the owner the comfort. Okay, not only is this guy a strong performer, he's also someone who looks after me.
Sure.
And that is where I broke through in the totality where there was no precedent before that.
Yeah.
So I want you to understand that the answer is inside you. It's not in the situations you're telling me.
Yeah, sure.
So that's one that I wanted to point out. The second thing I would say is, you see, now you're at a beautiful and new chapter.
Yes.
And this beautiful and new chapter means that you need to understand how to onboard correctly.
Correct.
And for that, what I would suggest is that you start watching level 3.
Okay.
Level 3 is included in your level 2 purchase.
Yeah.
And that is called the Apex 90-day challenge.
Okay.
If you give it an hour a day, it will take you about 3 days or so to cover it. There's about 12 videos in level 3. And this is all about how to onboard correctly. How to onboard in a manner where you can plant deep roots.
Okay.
Because initially, again, what is going to get called up is your soft skills. It's your interpersonal dynamics.
Yeah.
Nobody cares how much you know till they realize how much you care.
Sure.
पहले उनके दिल जीतने पड़ेंगे. See, all of these organizations, may it be Square Yards, may it be UPay, may it be Paytm, any of these companies, you are joining their mission. So learning how to fit into their mission is critical, because उनके अपने तौर तरीके हैं, उनका अपना culture है, and they are already successful.
Yeah.
They are taking you on with the understanding that by bringing you on board, they will be even more successful.
Correct.
So that is very critical to understand. And there is a 10-step strategy, because see, when you join a new company, everybody is looking at you. You are under scrutiny. Everybody is trying to figure out कि भाई अमित के आने से हमारी लाइफ में क्या चेंज आएगा. You know, what is the change that you're going to bring? Because people are afraid of change.
Right.
They resist change.
Right.
So initially, all the eyes are on you and you have limited information as you're taking decisions.
Correct.
So early success or early failure in a role is the best indicator of overall success or overall failure.
Sure.
And when you first start in an organization, initially for let's say about 2-3 months, you will be consuming value from them. You will be learning about their norms, their processes, their behaviors, their systems, their go-to-market strategy. So much, context will be getting developed.
Sure.
Only if you build the right context, only if you consume the right value, will you then start producing the early wins and the value which will reaffirm to them that it was an excellent decision to bring Amit on board.
Sure.
So at the end of 6 months, the goal should be that you should reach this break-even point. You consumed the right value for 3 months, then you produced the right early wins and the right value for 3 months. At the end of 6 months, you've earned their trust. At the end of 6 months, you're at that break-even point where you have been culturally assimilated. Now, because they trust you, your ability to implement change in their system will start to spread its wings. And you will really get to do work that is professionally fulfilling and work that you enjoy.
Sure.
So this is why I say leadership can be a lonely journey, because in walking this journey to become culturally assimilated, बहुत कड़वे घूंट पीने पड़ते हैं.
I agree.
And many people don't have the capacity to gulp the bitter medicine.
Right.
Their ego prevents them that, who are you? Why should I surrender? Why should I submit? It is only people who have reached a certain level of personal development that they understand that in submitting, I'm winning. Right. And someday this person will be reporting to me, but I have that kind of patience to let the situation play out in a very natural and beautiful way.
Sure.
But that will only happen if you start with an understanding of what you are going for in mind. So start watching level 3. After 3 दिन में लगभग हो जाएगा, and once it is done, that is the plan you would use to onboard now. See, there are some very critical discussions you need to have with your supervisor.
Sure.
You need to understand how he looks at the problems, the diagnosis, and how you look at the diagnosis.
Sure.
And then you have to understand his expectations. What would he or she say would make you successful in that role? And then in addition to that, you'll have to negotiate for the right resources.
Right.
You have to understand his management style.
Right.
And then finally, you will also have to get the answer to the question that if you are able to complete the assignments, appropriately, then what's in it for you? What's your next step? So all of this is described in there so that you can understand how to walk that journey in a manner jahan aap, jad pakad lo wahan pe. You've got deep roots and now you're in a capacity to really do some amazing work.
Sure.
And then when you use the SPT model again, there is no reason, Amit, that your next jump may be a promotion or may be another move. There is no reason why your next jump up cannot be at the 1.5 to 2 CR level. It is very much a possibility that you can play at that level. But to play at that level, there are going to be some very formed elements of who you are that will need to be broken and melted again so that they can be recreated.
Correct.
So that would be my guidance on how to move forward from here.
Yeah. Well, Coach, another thing that I really like and I think it's a very powerful tool is the goal setting. And I think I figured this thing because you see in my financial investment, I had made a goal. And it was like only 1.5 months back that I made a goal. And in this 1.5 months only, while I didn't have any income, I was without a job, but still I think there was some rearranging of funds, and then some things happened that I think I am near to the figure that I had planned for 6 months. So I think it gives a crystal picture, because otherwise you are lost in a maze. You don't have a figure in mind, so you're not working for that. But I really like the goal setting exercise because it gives you a perspective, and then it helps you measure also whether you have arrived or not, or you can do a review of your strategy. So I think goal setting was another very good exercise that I practiced, and I think I got benefited, at least from my financial investment point of view.
Oh, that's I'm so glad to hear you say that, because I fundamentally believe that stating your intention to the universe is very important.
Yes.
If you don't know where you're going, then any road can take you there.
Correct.
Or no road can take you there.
Correct.
You're like a ship that is lost at sea.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter because you don't even know you're lost.
Correct.
But when you work through the goal setting exercise, then you truly come to understand what is it that you want to stand for in your life, in all of these different spheres that you have. And that financial one is a very important goal, because हम आज के कलयुग में रहते हैं, we live in the modern world of today. And finances are a very critical part of our lives. It drives the economic engine of our lives. So I'm so glad to hear it that you stated your intention to the universe. And then the entirety of the universe conspired to help you become closer to that being your reality. And I'm sure, just because you created the clarity of your goals, your actions must have changed as well. Because it doesn't happen by magic. I don't believe in, that it's not like we are watching, a superhero movie jahan pe uski laser eyes ne kuch kar diya. It's not like that. Your actions changed in some capacity to chase that goal. And the process was started because you stated the goal. So it's a very powerful thing.
Because when I reviewed the return on my investment, I also thought that my children are having their account and I've done my bank FD. So when I repositioned my funds, then I repositioned their funds also. I took them out from mere 4-5% in FD and I put them in secured mutual fund, where I think I'm getting a 5-6%, 7% return.
Correct.
So basically, it gives you a perspective. It gives you clarity, and it basically, puts you on a creative path. You think, start working towards that.
Absolutely. How old are your children?
So my son is 15 years old and daughter is 9 years old.
Okay. So see, you have a little bit of, there is some time there before they go to college.
Yeah.
So, you can even look at a little more aggressive return funds.
Yeah.
The hold period is better.
Yeah. Correct.
See, people have been saying, at least in this market, that, wait for the dip. They were saying it when the Nifty was 12,000. Aaj 16,000 pe. Anybody who invested in February, means today, if you invested 50 lakhs in February, today it would have been 80 lakhs.
80 lakhs.
So
I was from the beginning, I was always believer in equity, because India is a under-penetrated, underdeveloped market. So I think from last 15 years, I've been I've voted for equity. I do it more through mutual fund, but I take all equity portfolios, and I review it every 3-6 months, and I see if they are making returns. No debt fund, nothing. Mutual fund, because I don't have the bandwidth to track the market. Though I know there's a strategy that if you pick up 5-10 good stocks, then you can just close your eyes and start investing in them just like an FD, because they have been there for last 20 years and they'll be there for next 30 years. People like Mahindra and all these companies, they've been done beautifully. Reliance and all.
Yeah, so, all of the large caps.
Yeah, all of the large caps.
But the whole thought there is, now you have these portfolio management services.
Correct.
There is a minimum amount you need to invest with them, but at a 2% commission, which is nothing, you can get. So they will invest. They will only buy premium stocks at the right time.
Yeah.
And then they will buy other good business stocks at a fair value.
Correct.
Okay. So because in some of these stocks, like if you look at the Infosys, the MRFs, the Asian Paints of the world, they are not cheap anymore.
Yeah.
There's never going to be a time, at least foreseeably, where they are going to be down for you to buy. But if you have long-term hold capacity, then all of this makes a lot of sense.
No, I have. You see, for last 3, 4, 5 years, or maybe more than that, I have been doing a systematic investment plan in all the equity mutual funds. And perhaps that has helped me right through this 2 years' time. You see, my portfolio, which was, say, about 60 2 years back, is now 1 CR, while I have taken money out of it in last 2 years. So I always did a systematic investment plan. Every month I would take a chunk amount and I would invest it. And I've been doing that for last couple of years. And for last 2 years I had no money, so no investment, just a reject. But hopefully now things should start again.
Absolutely. Why not?
Yeah.
Lovely. No, I'm very glad. Whenever I meet somebody who has the penchant for systematic investment, it's just wonderful, because I think this is something that will change your life.
Yeah.
In another 10, 15 years, what you could have been able to accumulate in a corpus is going to become a beautiful golden nest egg.
Correct.
For the time where you want to enjoy those years of your life as well. It's not just about going on slogging. Some people continue to work because they want to keep their mind active. But it should be an option. After a point, it should become an option.
Correct.
You decide how you want to get engaged.
Yeah.
Correct. Wonderful. Amit, all the very best. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you very much, Coach. Thank you very much.
And if there's anything else I can do, you know where to reach me. Just send me an email and I'll be happy to revert. But congratulations on your hard work and on this new chapter. I wish you all the very best, and I look forward to the conversation where we are now talking about the next jump, which is 1.5 to 2.
Sure, Coach.
All right. All the best, Amit.
Thank you, Coach. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.